Happy Saturday morning. Well, it's Saturday as I'm recording this, and you should see this later today. But I hope you have a terrific weekend. So today I wanted to talk to you about something that, an issue that I'm sure we're not the only family who has experienced something like this. So for those who don't know, who may be, seeing this content in this channel for the very first time, me and my wife have two children. We have an adult daughter who's 24 years old, almost 25, and we have a 5-year-old son who, matter of fact, turns 6 years old tomorrow. Same mommy, same daddy. It wasn't like one of us upgraded or downgraded to a new partner to have another child. Now, there is a large portion of our life that is there that that explains why there's so many years in between them, and it has to do mainly with cancer. But today, I wanted to talk to you about my son and services for my son. My son is autistic. He is on the spectrum, and his main issue in education and in life right now is he is very speech delayed. Tomorrow, like I said, he turns 6 years old, and he still has maybe 12, 15 words total that he says. He understands a lot more than anybody gives him credit for, and that goes for teachers in the public school system as well. They don't think he's understanding them. Oh, he understands you. He's just very obstinate, kind of like his dad. But he doesn't speak. And most of the time, he kind of, it's not really a grunt, but he makes a noise and then points to it. He can put, mathematically, he's above, or right at the level of all the other kids in his class. Hell, you know what my son does for fun? And it's something that nobody taught him? Video editing and special effects. I'm not joking. I've been at this for 4.5 years, and my son is a better video editor and can make his own special effects. I can't figure out. I sit and I watch him on the computer to see how he's doing things, so I myself can learn. But here's the issue. We'll get to the heart of the reason why I'm making this video today. We had reached out to several organizations trying to find a summer school program where he could get help with speech therapy, because obviously he needs speech therapy. As soon as we put our names into basically the government system, everyone has been contacting us. They want us to put him on disability for the rest of his life so he can receive money from the Social Security Administration. They want to offer him not only speech therapy, but occupational therapy, physical therapy. I'm like, he doesn't need these things. He needs speech therapy. Can we just get help with speech therapy, or point us to a speech therapist and we'll pay for it? That's all we were ever asking. That's all we ever wanted. And now that we're in the system, our phones are blowing up constantly, Monday through Friday. I believe yesterday, on Friday, I fielded 20, 25 calls from different organizations who obviously are getting money. And I asked, several of them. They're getting money from the federal government to run their programs. They're getting grants from them. And, well, obviously their grants are based on how many children they have in their programs and how many young adults they help in their programs. So they're trying to add another name to the list. Well, we're helping this child. Give us more money. And it's an entire game. It's a system. But it's a system that we both know, me and my wife, and you should as well. We know that the game from birth to the age of 18 is there. But at the age of 18, sadly, ladies and gentlemen, here in America and in the state that I live in, and this is not just my state only, and I'm talking across the entire United States, a better than 90% of all the programs and things that he could get help for, everything from job placement, work, school, everything, at the age of 18, poof, it's just gone. It disappears. There's nothing for that transition period from, teenager, young adult into adulthood. Sure, there are some programs out there. The ARC, ARC is there. There is hope that, of some nonprofits that we have, been supporting are going to be able to make a difference, and be there to help, our children. They're young now. We're talking, 13 years, or 12 years before they get to that point where they're going to age out of these programs. We're trying to now, along with Mark Rober and some other YouTube creators and those outside of a lot of famous people have put money and backing and their names to it as well. We're trying to, with Color of Spectrum, to change it. So by the time our sons get to that age and they age out, that they will be able to have something that will understand. Not only is it just for autistic, but those who need assistance later in life. And not later in life like in their 60s, but from 18 on. Statistics will tell you that better than 75% of all children who are diagnosed with autism will never find long-term employment. Better than 75%. The higher in the spectrum you go, obviously, the least likely they are to find any employment or lifelong employment. Sure, there are organizations like Goodwill and Salvation Army in places like that where they do offer employment for those on the spectrum and Down syndrome and other barriers to education and employment. They offer employment. But they're and their only reason why they're even giving those jobs or offering those jobs is because of donations from people like you and me and from the government. Yes, they're subsidized by the government. Either the state or the federal government is subsidizing these actual employments. I don't think a lot of people understand really what autism is. So I want to explain in brief here what autism is like for my son. Maybe you know somebody, or maybe you yourself are autistic and you don't even know it. So my son, obviously, like I said, has issues, speech delay. He understands, he intakes information, and everything is great on that basic level. He understands it, can work around it if it's a word problem or an issue with what he's doing, mathematically, speech-wise, or whatever. He can find a workaround and understand it. But he has a hell of a time trying to express anything. On top of that, he's kind of like a blank chalkboard. He doesn't know how to feel emotions, or express emotions. He can feel them, but he doesn't understand them, and he can't express them. He's happy. He doesn't know how to express that. He's sad. He doesn't know how to express it. Same with mad. With work, and trying to tie certain emotions to, pictures and stuff like that, he can express them a little at this point. But he's like a blank chalkboard when it comes to expressing his emotions. You can't put him in a situation of learning where there is a lot of noise. You can't put him in a situation where there's a lot of changing of colors or lights. He can deal with a computer as long as it's a stagnant, one, color background. Add multiple colors in the background, put a flashing light somewhere, anywhere in the room. Your day is over with. And when he becomes overstimulated, he just shuts down. He just stops. He puts his head down and stares at his hands. And another thing, and a lot of children, and adults who are autistic will never make eye-to-eye contact with you. And if he does, it's just for a microsecond. Every time he looks at someone or something new, in his brain, it's like taking 10,000 snapshots with a camera to just taking pictures nonstop. Because that's how he processes everything in his brain. He's putting a picture to a scene, to a color, to a location, everything. And that's what he remembers, is that snapshot. He's not a savant, or a lot of people like to use the name, think of Rain Man. And it's a disgrace, and it's harmful and hateful to anyone out there to say that there is something called Asperger's syndrome. If you don't have the time to look up who Dr. Asperger was and realize that this man did some extremely cruel things to young children and adults to get his research and to have Asperger's syndrome named after a variation of the spectrum of autism, you're doing yourself a grave injustice. Even when they started using the name Asperger, or Asperger syndrome, those two words together, the medical community, the American Medical Society, and those for psychiatric problems and learning disabilities were opposed to it when they started it. They're still opposed to it because people want to label that as Asperger's. That is, I'm sorry to use the word, but retarded. I've yet to meet someone who's on the spectrum, and I've met a lot of children and a lot of adults on the spectrum, and none of them are retarded. We all learn in different ways. We all have different life experiences. But now, to go back to where I started, recap, all I want is speech therapy for my son. Help with it. Not financially, help with it. I want someone to tell me who is the best. Where can I take him? It's summer school. What I don't want is I don't want to see him slide backwards where he was last year. I want to keep the progress going for him, during the summer. So when he gets to school next year, to first grade, that, he'll be able to actually, do and catch up and be integrated more with the normal, whatever normal is, students in the class. But because he has the definition, the diagnosis of autism, they want to stick him away, separate him more and more from other kids that are just like him, from his actual friends. It fucking sucks to be a parent, out there who is being an advocate for your child. And every one of us should be an advocate for our children. I'm going to fight until my last breath for my son. And I would do the same for my daughter. And I will do the same for any other child I see being left behind or being ignored by the system. Public schools here in America, they're not the best, but they're what we have. Charter schools are no better. I have quite a few friends that I've made through different local organizations for, parents of children who are autistic as well on the spectrum. In charter schools, they see absolutely zero difference in the ability or the services that are offered to them than what my son is getting. I know a couple parents who have their children in a Catholic parochial school. They're not getting anything better than what I'm getting in a public school. So it's clear that we need to step outside of the actual boundaries to find the services and get the services, to keep the services that we want. And there are phone numbers you can call. And I do suggest, if you have a child, or even if you or yourself think that you may be autistic, there are tests that you can take online where you'll go through, and it's simple. It's a simple test. You may not even know it yourself, but you could be autistic. But now I'm caught into a system, and it sounds like a double-edged sword. Here, on one hand, I want services, and I need services for my son. And on the other hand, everybody wants to give him everything. But there's no way to say, I don't want this, I don't want this, he doesn't need this, he doesn't need this, he needs this. This is what I wanted, this is what I called about. I want nothing more than that, just this. I'm sure other parents out there feel the same way. If your child had an issue, a large majority of us will do anything that we can for our children. There are, unfortunately, parents out there that feel that they're caught in a situation where they can't help their child. You can. You most certainly can. You just have to you have to know where to go, who to call to get the services, the help. Well, I'm rambling on. But thank you for joining me today for another episode of the Taco Podcast. And as you're seeing this today on Saturday, this is the new day and time that I will be uploading and making these videos available to you, the public. Please give this a subscribe and a thumbs up. And to learn more about our journeys and where we are and trying to survive in a middle-class existence here in America. It may feel like, and it may look like to you in your life, that everything is crumbling around you. But what you need to do is you need to keep moving forward. Don't look back, look forward. Keep your nose to the grindstone and keep working at it. The only ones that can stop you from succeeding is yourself. Have a great weekend.